Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernst Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. College basketball is coming up in about a week, and me and Brandon Olsen of Locked Gators decided to sit down and talk about the Florida basketball team and whether he thinks that Florida will be able to make the tournament in college basketball in the 2023-2024 basketball season, and whether he thinks that Todd Golden has outperformed or underperformed his expectations as the head coach of Florida basketball. Todd Golden's in his second year, and obviously coming from San Francisco, a very small school in basketball, kind of like Louisiana with Billy Napier as well. So they're both from smaller schools, making the jump to Florida. Based on expectations for Todd Golden so far at Florida, how have you felt that he's done? Has he done better or worse than you expected so far at Florida?
I think he did worse than I expected in his first year. Not that I was expecting anything great. I just think that one area was from the time that he got hired, he pretty much almost immediately had to start building that roster. Didn't really have much time to evaluate or anything like that. And I think that kind of forced them to try to fill that roster. And they ended up adding players that really just never panned out, and if we're being honest, just didn't belong in the SEC. And so I think that kind of backfired on them. But I think this year they've had more time, obviously, to evaluate, and they've had more time to kind of be like, okay, this is what our current roster is good at. This is what our current roster is bad at. Let's address it this way. And so this year, to me, is going to be the real kind of, not, if he doesn't have a great year this year, he sucks. But this year, to me, is going to be, is he for real? I think that's what we're going to see from, because you don't have the excuse really anymore of like, oh, this team's really bad talent wise. Like Mike White had it bad. And then when Mike White left, they lost players even more. And then you kind of had to just shuffle stuff together real quick. Now it's your team. And now it's Todd Golden's time to go, okay, like can you give us the moments that show that you can turn this program around, especially when you have someone like Riley Kugel, who was one of the, I don't want to say one of the best freshmen, one of the best scoring freshmen from last year. He could just get a bucket whenever he needed to. I do need to see him step up. But I feel like with Todd Golden, he did not live up to my expectations last year. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe my expectations were too high. But I think that my expectations are slightly higher than they were last year, but I'm also way more confident that he'll actually live up to those this year.
Yeah, I think a big thing with Florida, though, was, they were doing okay before this, but they weren't doing great. I still say, like you, that they were a bit, underperforming or whatever, but Colin Castleton getting hurt, though, messed that up. Because I'm not saying they would have made the tournament for sure, but I think it would have been a lot more likely because they had some moments where they were pretty solid last year because Colin Castleton, was a rim protector. He was, a decent passer. Like, he showcased that in the Summer League. I was watching Summer League. He can pass. Like, he's actually a better passer than I thought. I mean, he can actually take the ball off the dribble a little bit. I mean, he's got a lot of skills that, maybe wasn't showcased a lot, especially when Mike White, was at Florida. I don't think that a lot of that was showcased, but I think that really hurt Florida, in Todd Golden's first season, him going down. But now that Colin Castleton's gone and Florida's got a lot of transfers, they've got, solid players coming in. Do you think that it's more likely than not that Florida will make the tournament this year? Do you think they'll get there this time around?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, I mean, that's my expectation for you. You should be like bottom part of the tournament, like just a bubble team. But I think that the expectation should reasonably be make the tournament. You brought in a fantastic just portal class, whether you're talking about someone like EJ Jarvis from Yale, Micah Handgloten coming in, which finally got his name down, Zyon Pullin. Like, you're bringing in a ton of guys who should step in and be immediate big-time contributors, as well as keeping players with you, like Will Richard, like Riley Kugel, like having those players. Denzel Aberdeen should be stepping up, the combo guard, we'll call him. Like, you've got guys who, they've been in your system for a year. They should be all getting together. You've had this time to bring in the players that you wanted to from the portal. They're supposed to be fitting your system. You've had time to evaluate them. Like, last year, that was a big thing, was guys just weren't as good fits for the system as Todd Golden wanted, whether it was They're not as good as ball handlers as we thought they'd be. Whether it was they're not as good as hitting knockdown, open catch and shoot threes, which, I mean, Todd Golden says two most efficient shots in basketball at the rim, catch and shoot threes. So maybe it's guys that weren't fitting that. That's not an excuse this year. Like this year, you had time to evaluate players. You had time to go, okay, is this guy going to fit? We'll bring him in. So you don't get that anymore. So I think for me, I'm expecting the Florida Gators to make the March Madness tournament. Like you should be in there because what the top 68 teams make it in there when you consider the play in for. If you're going to tell me the Florida Gators aren't a top 68 basketball team in the country this year, I'm going to be pretty pissed.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny, you know, the talk of the expansion and everything, which I don't think they should do because of the fact that there'd be too many bad teams. It's how you have it now, where if you make the tournament, usually your job's okay, unless you're like a top program where they want you to be a top seed instead of you being like an 11 seed barely getting in and you can still get fired. But now, I mean, making the tournament's not going to be enough to save your job. It's like, well, you made the tournament, but you were a 17 seed. I mean, it's like you're not good enough. I don't think they should expand that at all. But yeah, I do think Florida has a really good shot to make the tournament. But a player that was really interesting to me last year was Kowiese Reeves. He was like the epitome of a guy that he's got talent. He was a high recruit, but he's not getting better. You know, he's still struggling to handle the ball, to shoot. He has talent, but I think like him being gone is like the definition of like you're getting out a guy that doesn't fit your system, and now you're bringing in these guys that do, and you should improve with these guys that you were bringing in because you like them. I agree with you there, 100%.
Yeah, I loved Chris. I was like hoping so bad that he would work out, but just
I mean, I really like watching him. It was just one of those situations where it's like I'm waiting for you to make the jump. You're gonna get better, but it just did not happen. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about me and Brandon Olsen of Locked On Gators' thoughts about Florida basketball for the upcoming 2023-2024 basketball season and how you guys think that the Florida basketball team will do this season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.